Hi there folks, it's Deni. And you know what I think? RPG is the most popular genre among all games. Just look, RPGs come out most often, RPGs have the highest download rate, and even here on my channel you often ask to make videos about RPGs. Well, I'll fulfill your wishes, and today I'll show you recently released RPGs that you should definitely pay attention to. But before we begin, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Okay, let's get started. Well, I usually start my videos with something pretty mainstream, but not this time. First up on the list today is an indie RPG called The Last Spell. And it's not just an RPG, but a kind of mix of RPG, turn-based strategy and fantasy adventure. And now let's look at the storyline. Mad magicians caused a magic cataclysm that led to haze, so some monsters started invading the world. Nearly all the people died, and those who survived got together and took shelter in a bastion with mages, who are working very hard to find a spell that could save the world. So, defending that bastion is what we are going to do. The gameplay here is kind of divided into two parts. During the daytime, warriors restore their health and just walk around the surroundings looking for some useful stuff, while you're busy rebuilding the bastion, constructing walls and towers, and setting traps too. The second phase begins at twilight, as the monster crowds begin to invade from all sides, and that's when the confrontation between good and evil begins. Oh, by the way, the battles here are turn-based, so if you are fond of something like that, go ahead. What about RPG in Chinese mythology setting? Wulong Fallen Dynasty is exactly the game. It invites us to the world of three kingdoms. We will have to try hard to survive in this endless cycle of demons, wars and drama. The protagonist, as it often happens, is a nameless and voiceless militia fighter who gets involved in a war quite by accident. But along the way he discovers some supernatural powers inside him. The core gameplay here is pretty standard. You get to a location, fight your enemies, and eventually come straight to the boss. And by the way, this game won't let you relax. You can be killed by literally a couple of hits, particularly if you are up against big enemies. And by the way, this game is very similar to the famous Sekiro Shadow Die Twice, and I'm sure that this will be a good point for many players. I know many of you love Souls-like games, so I suggest you give Bleak Faith Forsaken a try. He will learn the story of a member of the Legion of Hunters who is having, well, quite a weird time. A certain dark entity is advancing on the kingdom, and he will have to fight the darkness willy-nilly to save the whole world. At the beginning of the game, you will be able to choose the class of your character that will influence the style of your gaming process. Combat here includes soft and hard punches, rolls, block and parry. Well, that sounds familiar to those who have played Souls-like games, right? Also, here you have a health and stamina bar. Dodges and punches waste your stamina, so the combat is going to be quite challenging, although there won't be a surprise to many of you. Next up we have Last Epoch, and I'd rather call it an action-adventure with RPG elements. Just imagine the world has been swallowed by darkness, where once there were vast seas and forests and life was thriving. All that's left is scorched land. Now this land belongs to the monsters, tirelessly scouring for blood. Of course, it's up to us to clean up this mess. He will travel through different territories enemies, fight your enemies, explore the surroundings, complete quests, trade and find valuable items or equipment, and there are also some puzzles, but they are not that difficult. What's more, there is an advanced skills and class system, like there are about 15 classes, but some of them are not available right away and appear as you progress, and it depends on how your character behaves in the battle. In short, the game is quite varied, so it's definitely worth paying attention to. Next, I've got Spellforce Conquest of Eo, and it is not just the usual RPG, but a turn-based strategy with RPG elements. Here you will have to become a powerful wizard and try to spread your influence on the lands of the Kingdom of Eo. During your adventure, you will face your enemies, look for artifacts and meet the heroes who may join your squad. As for the battles, they are turn-based and require a bit of tactical analysis and ability to combine the functions of different units. You will be able to cast spells, throw dozens of different spells, starting from simple healing to large-scale magic tricks. Well, that sounds pretty exciting. As far as I can see, why not give it a try? What we have next? Well, this is Phantom Brigade, and it's a cool RPG with turn-based battles too, but this time you'll be dealing with robots. The story here is about a group of mech pilots facing off against some assholes. I think you won't be surprised if I say that the power here is unequal, to say the least, and you have much less robots than your enemy. This is why combat is the most interesting thing here. You will have to calculate the actions of your enemies and strike a fast and sudden attack on their units, trying to do it without any losses on your side. And oh yes, your strategic skills and robots customization also play a big part in your success. You can pick up all sorts of equipment here, but I advise you to be smart about it.
Breathe you in like oxygen.
I hope you are not tired of turn-based games yet, because I've got another ones for you, Ash of Gods The Way. And there is a little bit here from card games too. This game tells us the story of a young warrior who must infiltrate a neighboring country that is one step away from starting a war and succeed in a card game that is designed to train aristocrats in the Warcraft. And if this warrior succeeds, he may be able to prevent a war, and then everyone will be safe and sound. There are literally thousands of options for create unique combinations, and besides the hundreds of cards with unique properties, you will have to study the features of the local factions. They all differ from one another, so the same card can have completely different effects from one character to another. A stylish and fun RPG is quite rare, and that may be the reason, why Swords and Sandals Immortals made it onto today's list. He'll be a gladiator who arrives on a certain planet that is about to be visited by a certain world-destroying gladiator in 300 days. Well, in those 300 days you'll have to get strong enough to challenge him and kick his ass. You know what that means. You'll need to spend a lot of time fighting, upgrading, gathering useful equipment and other things that will make you stronger. I would like to mention that the battles here only seem simple on the surface. In fact, you will need to constantly monitor your stats, use your strong points while keeping an eye on the enemy section. All in all, you'll have to develop some pretty nifty tactics here. Persius Titan Slayer, which I told you about once before, also came out quite recently, so why not take a look at it today? The main character here is Persius, a demigod who is destined to confront evil gods and titans. The environment here is randomly generated, the story is non-linear, and the character's actions affect his environment. In fact, literally everything here makes the gameplay varied with each playthrough. During the combat you will be able to use 4 types of weapons: sword, dagger, bow and katana. Sounds surprising, doesn't it? But anyway, you'll have a real tree-like system to improve your skills that will define your fighting style. What's more, besides fighting with enemies, there are a lot of puzzles everywhere, so you will definitely find something to do here. I bet every one of you have already heard of Hogwarts Legacy. Well, it's all considered a new game so far, so although I've talked about it a few times already, I'll do it again today. Well, in case anyone doesn't know, here you need to create your own character and, in fact, go to Hogwarts, learn magic there, make friends among the students, explore the mysterious university itself and a lot more. The knowledge you gain may be applied in practice, namely in battles with enemies, that most of you may already know from the Harry Potter books or their filmed adaptations. Although, to be honest, there are not many battles here, but the game is still just great. Want some anime? Well, I hope you do, because now I want to show you an anime-style RPG, Summoner's War Chronicles. The main focus here is on the mechanics of summoning monsters and making them into a real battle team. The game section takes place in a fantasy world filled with monsters, colorful landscapes and dangerous dungeons. Here you will have some freedom of action and a lot of interesting activities that you can try, like you can just run and explore this fairyland, search for the ancient artifacts, or you can constantly fight with monsters. There are only 3 heroes to choose from: Orbia, Kina and Cliff, but the game is expected to be regularly updated with new content and the heroes, well, I hope so. Today we've already talked about Persius RPG, but there is another one rather famous ancient myths hero, Achilles, and you can meet him in Achilles Legends Untold. Together with him you will find yourself in the middle of the conflict between Hades and Ares. Achilles' goal is to defeat Phobos, the child of the god of war. But no, that doesn't mean he'll just show up and invite you to face him in battle. To find the main villain, you'll have to go a long way, facing the most dangerous and wild creatures that ever exist on Earth. You can play here either alone or with a friend. So go ahead, co-op mod fans. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found something interesting, and if so, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's been Deni, see ya guys soon.